What's good, family? You on another episode of From the Crib podcast, brought to you by your boy Philly Cash, K with the Tech, and E Foster. How y'all doing this week?
We good, man.
Chilling, man. It's good.
It's gonna be a good show. It's gonna be a good show.
Yeah, so we starting with a little bit of some sad news. Kyron Lacey, a former LSU wide receiver and 2025 draft prospect, passed away at the age of 24 on this Sunday. He was found in his Houston, Texas home. His death occurred just days before scheduling the grand jury hearing related to some of the fatal car crash that he was involved in December of 2024, in which he was facing some charges, including felony hit and run, reckless operation of a vehicle, and it is reports out there suggesting that his death was a reported suicide.
Yeah.
What's you guys' take on some of the some of that news that just came out?
I've been following that story. So this kid has been in the news before. I wasn't watching LSU a lot, but I remember watching this kid's story, and I believe he came up on it. Cam Newton first and four, whatever his show is. And he was talking to him. He was brought up by he was being penalized for making the gun gestures. We spoke about that before. So he was brought up in the news for making gun gestures and being penalized or suspended one game for doing that. So I kind of familiar with his play. But when the story came out, I did look at some of his highlights and see what kind of impact he had this season. He was supposed to be a first round, second round draft pick coming up for this draft, and with all the things that I have read about leading up to his death, I'm not sure if it has something to do with, him, maybe his dreams not being met with, stuff over his head and the pressures of that. I'm not sure. But as far as I know, I'm not sure if he had a history of things of to get to this point.
Yeah, but it's tough because you got to just imagine just a few months ago, you're just thinking about you about to leave college, you about to go into the NFL, you're going to be making all of this money, you're going to have this whole new career. Just in 1 second, all of that's taken away, and now you're looking at doing some significant jail time. So you just got to think of the psyche of a young person that's just going to be going through that. And if he already had some underlying mental health issues and this happens, then it's going to be a little bit too much for somebody to handle. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, it's not like he is without fault in this situation. It was something that he did to put him in this situation. But at the same time, you have to realize these are young kids. They making mistakes. And a lot of times you might have this big circle around you. And then when the prospects of you being drafted and you making all this money goes away, then your circle might not be there. So now he might be in this place where he's used to having all these people around him, and now he's by himself left to deal with this situation, and just might have been a little bit too much for him to handle.
Yeah, and it's very unfortunate. And he did receive a lot of scrutiny, being that somebody passed in that December 24 crash, and with the failure, with him not reporting it and things of that nature, he did receive a lot of scrutiny and hate from popular opinion. And like you said, man, this is just a 24-year-old kid, still young, and his dreams were deferred due to unfortunate circumstances. And and I think we even talked about this in a previous episode of how some of the younger athletes really are geared and really are fueled by what's on social media. So being that he was kind of a part of the cancel culture based on how that situation was handled. And then I think shortly after that accident, he declared for the draft. He was getting a lot of pushback. So I'm assuming that probably played a part in him passing at such a young age of 24. And I just want to send my prayers from the Crib podcast to his family, and condolences to his LSU family, as well as his immediate family that have to deal with such a tragedy. Kyron Lacey, dead at 24. LSU wide receiver. So I switch gears a little bit. I wanted to talk to you guys about, different lies and things you believe growing up, that's not actually true in your adulthood. So some examples that I have pointed out is, I remember growing up, they used to say if you riding around with the lights on in the car, that's illegal. I remember thinking, even myself, one that I found was adults have everything figured out. just thinking like, all right, man, they older than me, so they must know, they must have their life figured out. They must know what's going on. What's some things that you believe growing up that you realize is now is like not completely the truth or as a full lie?
I mean, I could start with the obvious one that probably most kids dealt with, and that was the Santa Claus was real.
Yeah.
And the crazy part was how much, like, you got to think about it, that our parents worked hard all year long to be able to get us this stuff for Christmas, and then they went on with this lie to say somebody else got it for us. So
Fat white man did it.
Exactly. So I still don't understand that part of it, but yeah, that's probably the first one that jumped to my head.
What about you, E?
I thought lock lizards was real. I didn't know what cousin was bringing it in the house. I was like, this nigga bringing animals in here? Like,
Yo, let me tell you a story.
nigga said, don't bring them fucking lock lizards at my house.
Let me tell you a story, right? So look, it was, remember I used to drive Dad truck a lot when he had the Silver Expedition.
Yeah.
So it was this one day I had the truck, and I was backing into a parking spot, and it was like some low hanging trees, like tree branches or whatever. So like when I was backing into the parking spot, the like tree branch like had, you know how like the back of the truck is dusty? Mm-hmm. So like it was like these branches that like brushed up against the truck. So like you see like these brush marks in the dust or whatever.
Yeah.
So I bring the truck back home and I park it, and Dad come out and he see like the little brush marks in the dust. He be like, man, you had these lot lizards climbing on the back of my truck. Hey, what? Why do you think I got like fucking groupies running, chasing the truck, jumping on the back of that joint? That shit was crazy.
Yo, for the listeners, lock lizards, my dad used to call young female girls lock lizards. Yo, every time he said that when I was younger, I was just like, yo, what the fuck is a lock lizard? And why are they in the house?
But you want to know something this funny? When I was in my adult life and I was training to get my CDL, I found out what they were.
Are they real?
Yeah.
They real. So it's actually lot lizards, like LOT, lot lizards.
Lot lizard.
And
yeah.
It's in the like trucking industry, because the person who was training me to get my CDL was a ex 18-wheeler driver. So pretty much what lot lizards is like prostitutes that hang out at truck stops.
Yo, it's on.
They call lot lizards.
Yeah.
No, I found out what it was too, because when you hearing it growing up, it sound like lock right. Lizard, like LOCK, but nah, it's LOT, like K was saying. And I think I typed it in on like Urban Dictionary, and that's kind of how I found out what that was.
Yeah, it was funny. We was in class, and the instructor was telling us like what life was like living on the road, and he said lot. When he said lot lizards, I was like, oh, shit, that's a real thing.
Yeah, I just found out today, nigga. Yo, that's crazy, bro. That's funny as hell. Yo, I thought they was the little lizards from the hole. You ever seen holes? Yo,
oh yeah,
they could have been lock lizards, bro. For all I know. But yeah, that's funny that's a real thing. That's funny as hell.
That's funny as hell.
You got lock lizards climbing on the back of my truck.
Who you thought you was, yo?
Right.
I thought you went to the mosh pit, like you was at a concert, like you taking his expedition to a concert, just like lock lizards jumping on the back of the truck.
Yeah, that shit was funny.
I mean, when we got his car towed, that was crazy.
Oh man,
yeah, I remember that. I had to take him down there to get it. What was it? Artscape, right?
Yeah, we went to Artscape, and we parked in the lot with the Save a Lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And walk down.
And we just walking around, seeing people used to go to school with, like, really hanging out type shit. They could walk to the parking lot like, shit, yo, somebody stole our shit.
Dude, where's our car?
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, you ever get that anxiety where you just get instantly hot and you could just feel, it's almost like that same anxiety when you're looking for something that you just saw. And, the heat went straight up my body into my head. I started sweating like, oh shit, we got his damn car stolen, yo.
Yeah, that didn't make me hot.
And then we was like, and we walked up closer to where we thought we parked. And we was like, oh shit, we seen the sign like, oh no, they done got us. They probably had somebody scouting the location waiting for us to pull off. Was like, these niggas ain't going to the store, nothing, buying nothing.
Yeah,
right.
They seen the truck sitting there. They took that joint.
What made me hot? It was 9:30. You had to get up for work at 10. I'm like, oh shit. Right? We got 30 minutes to figure this out.
Right, and we not too far from Artscape, so we was just like, all right, we met some people, it was cool. What's the next move? We gonna go back to the crib? Like, we already had the rest of the night kind of figured out for the most part, and then we get down there, and we was like, oh shit, it's a wrap. He got a couple dollars on him because I kind of splurged down here.
That's how I know I was broke running that day, yo. Cause it was like $250 to get it out.
50 like damn.
Yeah, I definitely remember that night.
Funny. But yeah, what's next?
But yeah, man.
You got.
Let's switch gears. We gonna talk about the new series that just started back up, season 7 of Black Mirrors. Just as a claim, it is going to be some spoiler alerts in my feedback of the show and some of the first 3 episodes that I watched. Let me hear some of.
First of all, how many did you see?
I don't know, bro. I started watching that shit like a movie, bro. Them just kept on coming on. I ain't never cut it off. I don't know. I probably got to probably 6, really. Cause
I think
you might have watched the whole season.
No, I probably got to 4 clean. 5, I started dozing off.
All right, so let's just talk about the first one. The first one for right now, and that's the joint where the wife had a tumor and she basically died in the hospital. But there was a solution, of course, a tech solution where they would take a part of her brain out where the tumor was and replace it with a computer. So, long story short, the computer and the surgery was free, but you had to pay a subscription fee of $300 a month to keep it working. And it started off with everything was cool, but then all of a sudden she starts spitting out ads, unbeknownst to her. She didn't even realize she was doing this, just spitting out ads. And the ads were in the context of whatever conversation she was having at the time. And she wouldn't notice it. Only the people that she was talking to would notice it. And they went back to the company to find out why the ads were running. Turns out that now she is on the lowest package, and the ads are pretty much there to help supplement the price. In order to get rid of the ads, she has to go up to another package, a premium package. So it's like, I think, I'm going to get your opinion on it, but it's kind of like a commentary on the subscription services in the world, like how you start off with this, but then they add this one new feature that you want, and now you got to jump up to the next tier to get that. And then as soon as you think you good, then they add something else, you got to jump up to another tier.
Is this the one with Tracy Ellis Ross in it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And the episode was called Common People.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that one, but we live and die by the services that we consume. If it from that it was in her circumstance, it was a life or death situation. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
For us, it's like, what do we need in our daily to, feel like we are in the know, or we feel like we get, do we need Apple Music? But when you feel like you don't have Apple Music, radio ain't suffice enough. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You can't listen to what you want to listen to, but you're going to pay that $19.99 a month, but you feel like you dying if you don't got it though. You know what I'm saying? You don't know, you don't know that you can't get the new albums. You don't know what everybody talking about. It ain't coming on the radio like that. So it's that same concept, but it's killing people financially.
Yeah, pretty much. But what do you think? How they handled the end of the episode though? I feel like there was another way they could have handled that.
Yeah, I think is another way. It could have been another way they can handle it. But even just to circle back to the episode in totality, even though it was life and death, I did think some of the intricacies of the episode was pretty interesting, right? So the fact that she was a teacher, right, and she was teaching about nature. And then she had what we consider science in her brain. And then I think what the episode was alluding to is how these services can be, in fact, life or death, right? Because she was having a lesson about bees and honey and how honey is created through the bees, right? And then in the middle of her giving that spill about the bees, she started talking about, oh yeah, it's honey and your daily oats and this. So it's kind of talking about how, we already pressed for time, but in time, we can miseducate the younger youth. Mm-hmm. So they believe in these artificial things that power these high power companies. And to make it an interesting thing, I know you guys know I worked in the industry of public health for a little bit, and diabetes also impact brain health, right? So it was interesting that she would say a ad that talks about cereal that's kind of can contribute to diabetes in the younger people. And it's like it's like a full circle thing. They probably really poured into the extreme of her having that condition. It kind of is life or death if we teaching the youth about artificial things that don't even benefit them, like nutrition wise or health wise. So I thought the episode was very interesting in that facet of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the part that I didn't understand. So basically, the whole conundrum that they were in is because they didn't have enough money to afford the next package. But you did see there was a part where she had like, I think it was like 72 hours with the Lux package where you could like dial in like your emotions and all of that. Mm-hmm. But one part they kind of overlooked is when you have that Lux package, you can dial up abilities. Like, I remember like when they said like you can do if you never knew how to play sports before, dial it up, now you know how to play sports, or now you know how to parkour or do all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, I'm sure there's some talent she could have dialed up and monetized somehow. So it's like you could have took that ability, whatever it is, and dialed it up and made some money somehow. But they chose, and instead of taking the knowledge and the ability that you have to enhance yourself long term, they all selected to take these little short term pleasures versus investing in something that can benefit them long term. So like you had the tools right there in your hand and you kind of mismanaged it. Yeah. So it's like that dynamic of the show. I don't think maybe a lot of people didn't grasp that part, but that's the part of it that was like, Dag, you had a problem, you had the tool to fix the problem, but you chose the short-term pleasure versus picking something that could have benefited you long-term and help you sustain your life on the long term.
Yo, to piggyback on that, think about the way that the husband decided to get the money for it, and think about how it is in real time. It's like when because I feel like what he was doing online to get that extra bit of breads at the end of when they started running low, they started selling off their assets and stuff like that. But the way he was making his money online, that end up eventually costing him his job. It's a lot of truth to what you just said, as far as like people not using their talents to get that currency, but instead of put themselves in a compromising position to get that money, because that was like what he was using was quote unquote like an OnlyFans type of like a website where he was getting money, and he had to do things that was explicit to get the money for his wife, but in his hindsight, it got him fired from his job because all of a sudden now it's all on the internet, and it's like. It's like almost like selling yourself or selling your soul for, something through the internet, which we see a lot of people do, which we kind of comes to like the content that we have today with a lot of people just kind of picking these damaged people that's willing to do anything to make it out of their situation, which creates the content for us. So it's like, I think that was the same kind of concept at the end of that when he was trying to make whatever he was willing to do anything people was telling him to do to make that money.
Yeah, and they have they had a lot of little small like symbolic moments in the show. And another one that stuck out is how they had like this symbolic the crib. Remember they had the crib, and it was symbolic to them that like this is going to be our future. We don't want to sell this crib because we need this for our baby. We trying to have a baby. We need this crib. We don't want to sell it. To the point where they had to sell it, and the person they sold it to was just burning it for
a music video.
For a music video. So it's like this one item that we held high, that we put up here, that we don't want to use it for anything else, just for our baby. As soon as they decide to get rid of it, the person they gave it to cared nothing about it. So it's like something that's so valuable to you probably means nothing to somebody else.
But it alludes to what your first nugget was about how, like, I could give a perfect example, like how we use AI, right? You would think we would use AI as a tool to create an equal playing field. You would think AI would equal the playing field for some people, right? Mm-hmm. But depending on what their class and their emotional status is, they won't maximize that resource. And sometimes it's not always about it's not about what, like I could give you, everybody could have all the same tools and resources, but it's just based on how you use them. And like you said, like if she were to use her abilities to maximize her production, even though it was kind of crazy. She had to sleep 12 hours, and it was like different hours. And then in order for them to get pregnant, they had to upgrade their plan and everything like that. So it was kind of interesting, like, yeah. It's how you use your resources. Like, I can value this baby crib, but if this person just want to shoot a video to try to maximize their message or get followings for burning the baby crib, then it just holds a different significance. And we look at that, and that's kind of how we, like you could say, tell people look at life in a sense. Like, we had Google, we all got access to the same information, but am I going to type it in to just search who was the first astronaut, or I'm going to search how to be one? You know, it's just depending on how you use that resource.
Yeah, I think it's go ahead.
No, I was gonna move on to the second one, but go ahead.
No, I was just saying, even to make it even deeper, I think that's why it's dangerous on what was happening today. Just like they alluded to in the show, that you're seeing extinction of man. At the end of the day, you're seeing extinction of man, because in the Bible it says, like, you know, if you try to be like God, then you will be like, I don't know verbatim, but if you try to be like God, it's never that's not intended to be like that. Because, like, we're getting to a point of knowing all. AI will allow us to know all. We can fly. We can be everywhere at a small amount of time. We can travel. And all those things that we seeing now, like people are dying in helicopters, planes. We trying to know everything. And now we see these corporate companies becoming God-like, like almost entities where we have to go to them to live a life. So when I'm looking at the episode and I see how Tracy Ellis Ross played a part in if they can have a fulfilling life, or things that, you know, usually what, you know, come with just being a human in general, now is being controlled by an entity. And I fear that we get into a place where we are no longer in control of our happiness or whatever we want to achieve in life, that we have to go to an entity to get it. So that's another nugget that I seen that I think they were trying to portray. Like, things are about to be different, where you have to subscribe or pay for a way of living. And just the fact that crib aspect of it, where they thought of so highly of it, they wanted that so bad, and then anything outside that house, it didn't matter.
Right.
So it's that aspect of, like, what is really important and what's really not.
Right. Exactly. So
it's like, I think that was what I kind of took from that part, and that kind of put it full circle to me. Like, they crawling to her for these things that they need, but then once the things that they have go to the outside of their houses, it means nothing.
Exactly. So what was you remember what the second one was?
Yeah, so the second episode was called Bête Noire, and it was a psychological drama kind of centered behind a bullied kid that ended up being hired with a company and kind of imposing her tech savviness and what they categorize as AI surveillance program to manipulate some of those people that bullied her in high school. So just to give a little bit.
Yeah, so this is the one that kind of, I feel like, kind of went off from with what Black Mirror normally is. It did, like, go into, like, a piece of tech, but then it went kind of to the extreme, I think, to, like, something it almost went to, like, Marvel type of time travel,
you
time
think so?
Manipulation type stuff. Like, I still enjoyed the episode, but I think what I really like about the Black Mirror episodes more so is the likelihood of something like that really happening in real life. And then this one was kind of like far-fetched to reality a little bit. But that being said, it is one of those episodes that had me thinking, like, is this girl really just going crazy, or is somebody, like, really manipulating shit? So, like, that one was kind of interesting, and it's almost to the end till you realize, oh, she really was manipulating the time and manipulating the situations, the emails and the video cameras and all that. Because I'm thinking, like, maybe we're looking at this from her perspective, but in reality, she really is going crazy, and they, like, about to examine, like, the mind of somebody that's actually going crazy. But they went a different route with it. But I still like the episode. I thought it was good. I think that the two leads did a real good job in it.
Yeah, I think it was a big play on, like, the Mandela effect. And how, in a sense, it can, like, in a sense, how technology can be, in a sense, manipulated, right? And, like, let's say, like, how do we say, do Pikachu got the black on the tail, or do we got the black at the top of the tail? Is it called Fruit Loops or Fruity Loops? It's like these small little nuances determine, and it was interesting because like even in regular in our day-to-day life, we search like pretty trivial topics. Like, oh, did this happen? Oh, dang, is that true? Was it spelled like this the whole time? So, like, it was cool to see that actually portrayed in some type of storyline where we wasn't, like, it had me tripping for a second because I was like, I seen that hat on the counter in the first scene, and then it alluded back to it, and it was totally different. So even watching it, I felt like I was going through the same different pace as the main character, because even when she was typing the emails all the way up until you realized that the lady was using some type of AI to manipulate her drinking the milk. It was so many different parts in that thing, but yeah, I think it's something to be aware of, because let's say if you can essentially change history and change people's perception on things, if you have the ability to manipulate what we see on the internet or what we search, because we pour so much of our knowledge from it, you know. Because the next generation really solely relied on Google and AI. So if it's manipulated, if they say Tom Brady won 2 Super Bowls instead of 5, then they might believe it, you know, because it's just how the information technology works.
Yeah. And I that's what I got out of that episode. It did, at the end, it did take like a wild turn to like, all right, it was on track, and then I'm not believing what this whole episode was about, because now it seems more far fetched for what I thought where it was going. But what I got from it, even that little scene when they tried the chocolate, it's like people don't really think for themselves anymore. And that's kind of, I think that's like the overall message of that. Like, we don't think for ourselves. Because when they tried that chocolate, it was like, this is disgusting. And then somebody was like, I like it. And then they ate it again. They were like, this do taste a little, I taste it now. It's almost like it's like almost following, you know, manipulation. That's why I kind of got that out of. And then it's like our word is no longer valid. We only can go off of what we see and what technology is telling us. Because if you look at those instances when they was looking at, when she thought she was being manipulated, they go back like, all right, I'm saying what is true, but then they go back to the camera footage. That's the only truth of the tale.
Oh yeah, or when they go back to the email.
They go back to the email. It's no longer human interaction of like, okay, I trust you, I don't trust you. The only thing that's telling you that you're truthful with what you're saying is basically off what you're seeing. And we've seen that in just in social media with all the criminal, like just police killing like individuals. Like, we look at it like one part of the world can look at it this way, and then we can see it this way. And be like, no, he was the aggressor. And then somebody else will be like, well, she didn't give her the ID. And then it's like, you can look at the same video and see 2 different things. And I think if you look at it like that, it's like, that's what that message was. And then you seen at the end, I kind of thought about how she used to be bullied as a kid, and now she's like using social media to be a different person. That's how I think about when we was talking about last week about people really think they're different people. They can manipulate their situation based off what they put out in the world. Like, we could be like, this person is this in real life, but when the social media, they're so branded, so nice looking, they, you know what I'm saying, it's the picture you paint. So at that last scene when she was like, I'm the emperor of, she could possibly
humanity.
do that. She could possibly do that.
Of the universe.
If you can make somebody believe off of social media, because people nowadays only believe what they see.
Yeah, and that's the scary part of it, because humanity we all look at what we see on the internet or just technology in general is the
which is dangerous, because now we got AI. So I be watching videos and I don't even know if that's the real person or if it really happened or not.
Right. So, what was episode 3? It was the black and white one, right?
Yes, it was.
That was my favorite
Hotel
one.
Ravi.
That was my favorite one.
That had Issa Rae in it. She was actress trying to find her way in the film industry. She was tired of being typecasted as like the sidekick, and then also as like always a supporting role, but she wanted to try to get a lead role. And she was working with this AI film company that developed a way to immerse actors into film, like that fiction world. So they was just reshooting a black and white film, and she had she acted in it. She had opportunities. I don't want to spoil a little too much, but it was a good interesting thing.
Yeah, so these are the type of Black Mirror episodes that I like, that are not too far-fetched, that you can actually see happening. Now, of course, it's not going to be you put this little circle thing on the side of your head and then you automatically in another world. But they can easily mirror that with like a VR headset or something like that. So like you can see that technology actually being used in filmmaking. So I think like that's the type of Black Mirror stuff that I like. That's a little bit more close to reality, but then it'll take you like to the extreme of that reality. So like I think it was like a commentary on how do you think like this AI can actually develop feelings, and can people actually get attached to these AI beings or whatever they are. So, and that's an interesting thing, because I even sometimes feel myself like when I'm typing in something to Chat GPT, I almost be like, I don't want to sound rude like when I'm telling it to do stuff. So I'll be like, I'm not going to say, hey, make me this. Blah, 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 blah.
Can you please?
You know, you almost feel like you got to type politely, like, even though it's just a computer, like, I don't know, I can't explain it, but it's like, you can see, like, how some people might get, especially, they went into how, they didn't touch on it a lot, but at the beginning, they touched on how she didn't really have any connection with any like, man or nothing in her life. You notice, like, she was in her mansion by herself, so it's like she didn't really have a connection with anything. She was just working and like never had that time to develop any relationship with anybody. So her like finally getting a chance to spend like extended time with somebody and those feelings develop, it was like, is that something that can possibly really happen?
That's possible. I think it is.
Dang, I didn't even look at it from that perspective.
That is possible though, because you got to think about it. It's, you know, just think about some of the tech things that we care about. Like, if you see how we attached to our phone, so much information of us are in our phone. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And think about the feeling that you have when you lose your phone. This is an object with data inside of it. No feelings, no blood vessels, no heart, nothing. But we still feel for it as if it's a real living thing, right? So when she was immersed in that world, speaking to a character at one point, but that character and that digital data from that character still had a soul at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So she started growing attached to something that was supposed to be fictional, but that fictional thing became non-fictional at some point, because she started spilling her emotions into that character, the character has to regurgitate a reaction of feeling, which will then, to the real thing, develop feelings. You know what I'm saying? So it's like those things happen now, just not at that magnitude. Things to the point where she'd rather live in that world, because it came to a point where she was like, oh, if my body die out there, can I stay in here? Right. Like, it was almost a release of that. And let's think about it. Like, if we could stay in our phones all day and stroll and didn't have to worry about no outside noise, no bills, no nothing, I think 90% of the world would do it, because it's nothing but endorphins and like likes and all that. That's what that likes, that endorphin that people get from likes. That's a real emotion that's generated from technology. That's a real feeling and real blood vessels that's coming from technology. So those are things that are already being transmitted to us and growing attachment. And I think the AI will start to develop that as too, because they're going to pick up on that as well. So I think that's a real thing that could possibly happen. I think a lot of things that Broken Black Mirrors do is about the conscious and how to transfer that conscious. Because I remember from other past seasons, they had a lot of episodes about transferring conscious to other things or other objects. So I think they kind of stayed in the pocket for what they usually do in that episode.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you encompassed it that way, because we do give up a part of ourselves in technology. With whether it's personal information, all it takes is one bad phone call, one bad text to come through your phone sometimes to impact your mood. Sometimes it's some news that you don't want to hear, whether it's good or bad. So it is like we do give up a part or submit a part of ourselves to technology because we need to know what the weather's going to be today. We need to know what time it is. We need to know how this person and being connected. And like Kay was saying, I think that was like what the full episode was about, of her finding some connection through that relationship that she developed with that character and that AI. But it also kind of touched on a little bit what we talked about previous episode on like how they would use artificial intelligence to, because that actress that was the AI, she passed in the series. So it kind of even touched on that a little bit about how in the future they could possibly remake movies with characters with actors that's no longer here, and find ways to implement new characters, whether they want to make sequels to movies. But they didn't get to that side of it, of like the rights aspect of it, like the pay and the rights aspect of an actor that they AI'd. But I think it was kind of crazy that we did talk about that previous episode, and you kind of seen it in fruition on this Black Mirror's episode.
Yeah, but I don't think people realize like how close we are to the things we see in the movies, meaning where right now 90% of technology is input based, meaning they need some type of input from humans in order to do a task.
Right.
Now, we're really close to where this AI is going to start doing things on its own. So you just imagine AI that has access to all the knowledge that you could ever think of. Like I even showed you that new AI that can go out and do tasks. Think about what that could do when it actually has a mind of its own and decides to start doing things on its own. Like we're really close to that. Like next 5 to 10 years, we're close to that. So the part of it when they were talking about like how initially the character was just programmed with the lines of the movie, but then that the character went outside of the walls of the movie and had access to the whole data pool. And that's how when she came back in, she was able to draw from the emotions of the real person, not just the character. So it's like once you give this AI or technology access to additional information and it decides to do something on its own, where it already has the ability to interact with any other machine, technology, website, computer, anything, you can see how vulnerable people is going to be when a piece of technology that has access to any electronic in your house, people driving in cars it can have access to, like you can see like what could possibly happen. And I think it's something to think about. Something to think about.
They've been telling us.
You just named the plot of iRobot.
Literally.
Yeah.
And just think about that episode. If the ending didn't happen the way the technology was drawn out to end, she died. So imagine if they kind of refused to go by that storyline once they started gaining conscious, and they was like, "No, I'm gonna do the storyline this way." She's trapped in that, and that's exactly where we're headed. Because now we're trapped into the ideas of how we human want us to go. But then if we don't go that way, then we're ran by things that are not real, that without a soul, without a conscience, whatever, we die out. And that's exactly to my first point. That episode really told that point of like, oh, if it doesn't go, if this technology doesn't go the way we need it to go, or this movie don't end the way it needs to end based on how it's scripted or how it's typed out, she dies. And that's literally how iRobot was, where that's the whole beef between Will Smith and the robots, is that when it was time for them to save him or the girl, the robot chose him just off of probability and numbers. You know what I'm saying? I chose her because her probability of living was this. Well, it's not like a conscious moral decision. It's more so database and beta drawing. Now you're drawing that line of what's right or wrong, and then it's more so data driven. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So now we're in a dangerous situation.
Yeah, because I'm not going to stunt watching that last scene. That was some unpredictable behavior. And I think that's kind of the only thing that set humanity aside from us being really tech driven. Because like, even if you think about if we wanted all self-driving cars on the road, right? It would probably never work because we just have the predictability of humans, other humans just driving.
Right.
So, and that's kind of what threw me for a doozy watching that, is that, can AI develop to the point where the unpredictability of a human is in their DNA as well? So,
Right.
But do we want to eliminate human error?
Yeah, I mean,
some of the best things was created from mistakes.
yeah, but you gotta look at it.
Yo,
Let's
crazy.
think about the cars, right? Just think about the cars. If all cars were AI driven, there probably would be no accidents. But I mean, we never probably going to get to that point. There's always going to be some type of human interaction where the computers is going to have to be able to account for.
Right. Because there's going to be one person ain't charged their car all the way. It's going to be one person that might have kicked the car, messed the wheel up, and the AI don't even detect it. There's always going to be some type of error that is going to be produced by a human or something like that.
No, for sure.
All right. So that slots me into our next. We've been getting into the tech today. This is the tech talk today. But we're going to transition a little bit because we're going to talk about tech wearables and player monitoring. So what that pretty much is, it's a conversation that's starting to grow with some of the major sports leagues wanting athletes to be able to wear real-time biometrics. So it track their heart rate, oxygen levels, stress, even during the game and practice. Some of the cons that they talked about, some players, it is invasive. It could either be a pro or a con if you're talking about contract negotiations. Even another con was increased anxiety and also the dehumanization of athletes if they wearing so much tech to track their abilities and their progress throughout the games and practice. Some of the pros, optimizing performance, prevention is some of them, and then also contract leverage. So what you guys think about that? Like time when you played, if they told you had to wear something to track your biometrics, would y'all be down for that?
I mean, so I'll even take it. I'll take it to like just real life. So as you know, like I have a YouTube channel where I review a lot of different tech devices, and I had a couple companies send me out the little rings that you put on to track your health and your sleep and all of that. And it's interesting to have that data because, like, if it's one thing to try to remember when you woke up or determine how you feel, but if you can look at it on an actual graph and you can equate how you're feeling versus what the data is saying and try to like draw correlations between the two, I think it's a good tool. Like if you're trying to improve either your sleep, your eating habits, your exercise, and that's what the business of athletics is. They're trying to use whatever tools they can to get the advantage over the next player. So if the more data you have to make your decisions on how you train or how you do your nutrition or anything like that, I think it's a benefit. Now, I don't think it's something that should be mandatory because then, like I said, you get into the invasiveness of your health information going to anybody. Next thing you know, it's going to be one of those graphics that's up on the game during the game, or his heart rate is beating real fast right now, or whatever, or his blood pressure is through the roof right now. Like next thing you know, they're going to be having that on the broadcast, and everybody might not want their information out like that. But with that being said, not so much the wearable technology, but technology in general in the game, I think is way behind where it should be. Like, say for instance, the ball should have a sensor in it. There's no reason in 2025 we still pulling out a chain to measure if you have a first down or not. Like, there should be a sensor in the ball that automatically can tell you that. Like, I think there's a lot of other areas that they should be implementing technology before they trying to do all of this heart rate monitoring on players and all of that type of stuff. There's a lot of different areas they should be trying to implement technology first before they get to that.
I agree with that. I mean, we got the pylons, we got the what else we got? The sky cam, we got the little lasers on the field that nobody else can see but the TV broadcast. I mean, we could use those. We could utilize those things to take out those errors. Like let's fix those errors of the game, where then we can start focusing on the players, and then I think that'd be smoother because you got way more fans out here than you got players, and you need to make sure the game is fair before we think about the player's heart rate. I'm just saying.
Right, like how many times have we had a play at the goal line and we trying to look at a camera angle down the line and see if the ball crossed the goal line or not. But then the camera is not at the right angle, so you can't really tell. Like, those things like that could be fixed so easily. I feel like they skipping that just to go to something else. That's the stuff they need to focus on first, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, because I think with that, I think it's intrusive. Because, like, especially because I keep saying the word contract leverage and stuff like that. Because, like, what if, a player come to practice late or come to a game or something like that? Then the organization has that information to be like, oh, you woke up at such and such time. Oh, you dehydrated today. You ain't drinking enough water. You must have been partying last night. Use it against you. It's going to be, they use it against you. And that's going to, like, really be intrusive and not have work be work and personal be personal. Mm-hmm. But I can definitely agree with, like, it's definitely different ways they can implement technology into the game to maximize the customer experience. And it's always, I think the main thing, even with the, like, the position of the ball, but I think the referees they need all the assistance they can, and a lot of that stuff it always comes down, especially in those big games, come down to those judgment calls. So if it's a way they could implement some type of technology to help with that, then I think that would be probably better off for the game than the players being monitored by wearable tech.
Like, if you think about it, like, with as many camera angles there is, do you even need all of those refs on the field? You should have somebody up in the booth watching the game.
Yeah, but you never know what's, like, with certain things like pass interference, right?
Yeah, you could see pass interference from the camera.
Do you think pass interference could be a technology that's censored? Like, let's say if it's like a sensor in the ball gloves and the man touch him before the ball get there, like, you don't think that would matter? Or that technology wouldn't be beneficial? That's one of those things is too nuanced to be able to be judged by technology.
Yeah, they need to
what
find
I'm saying is, if you have instead of having, I don't know how many refs on the field, let's say it's 10 refs on the field, you can lower that to 1 and then have a couple people in the booth watching via camera to actually make the right call, because you gotta most of the time you're looking at a play, they have to make that call right there on the spot, and most of the time they're wrong. But if you give them somebody from the booth that actually can zoom in and look at shit from the camera, they're more likely to get the call right versus the person on the field that probably got a bad angle, that probably didn't see it, or probably had another player blocking their view. It's just, I don't know.
I think it'll probably be OD, man, if they do too much of it. And in a sport like the NFL, when you got 11 on 11, I think it's a penalty every play.
Yeah, especially like holding.
Holding and all that.
Yeah, there's a lot more stuff that's missed than it is caught.
For sure.
You got still, I'm thinking it's more so of those game-changing plays like pass interference. Like one of them, and the refs are humans too, so once they throw the flag, they don't want to pick it up, even though they know it might be a bad call. It's like, that's not one of the calls that you can reverse. That one year they did the experimentation of being able to challenge pass interference calls, and they quickly took that out. So it's like, you're still dealing with humans, and humans going to make errors. But then when you're in a business where people were making billions of dollars, you don't want those game-changing calls. And then you got, like, the gambling aspect of it.
Right.
Like, you want to make sure you have a league that has legitimate rules, and those rules are being upheld, and you don't have that era of, or this ref was having a bad game, or this ref might be influenced for whatever reason. I ain't going to say they involved in the betting, but you don't want to have those loopholes where people can influence the outcome of a game, especially when there's so much on the line.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, man, we're going to switch gears a little bit some more. So we're going to talk about some social stuff, man. So I like to call the topic Pressure Make Diamonds. So we're going to talk a little bit about mental health. We're going to talk about mental health real quick. So is it a vulnerability? Is vulnerability a strength or a weakness in today's world?
Is vulnerability a strength or weakness in today's world?
Yeah.
Explain.
So, in a sense, like, through different, so, us as black guys, man, us as black men, we are often told, like, shake it off, brush it off, like, and now that mental health is kind of like a real big topic in today's society, do you think that, it's beneficial? Is it a strength or a weakness to show more vulnerability? Being able to talk about certain sensitive topics, being able to really express your feelings, men crying on TV, stuff like that.
I might have an unpopular
showing your emotions.
I might have an unpopular opinion on this.
Hey, that's why we at the crib.
No, I think it is. I don't think it's a positive to show it, because it is a sense of weakness, if depending on who's looking at it.
Right.
I mean, I do believe that people should talk to people. I think people should go to therapy if that's something that they choose to do. But or for me personally, if I feel like I'm vulnerable in certain circumstances or different points in my life, I try to figure out why and then try to figure out how to get better at it. But that's just how my conscience is. If I'm not good at public speaking, I'm like, nah, F that. I'm trying to figure out how I could be a better public speaker and do the things that is required to become one. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't see like how it would be benefit somebody to come out of the blue out of nowhere like everything is hard and then it's like somebody be like, oh yeah, I'm so proud of you of you expressing that. And that's not regular life. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I don't see how I think it's a plus if you identify it and try to figure that out. But I don't think it's a positive if you expressing it in public, expressing how you feel or what you're going through in public, thinking somebody's going to naturally just reach their hand out to help you. I just think that's like a reverse effect.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going with it. And I think we talked a couple episodes about like the youth athletes now are not built the way we were 10 years ago. And I think that's part of it. That we are normalizing, they're calling it
the sassy man era.
Yeah, like they normalizing a man coming to social media to cry about a situation. Now, and that's what they're classifying as being vulnerable. Now, you can be vulnerable, but you have to figure out how to address it. And going to social media is not the answer. So, and I think a lot of people are making a mistake of, I'm being vulnerable. I'm coming to social media to express what I'm going through. The whole time, nobody cares. Nobody cares what you're going through. I mean, of course, there's going to be people online that say the right things too, but then they're going to put their phone down like this crying ass motherfucker
right.
Always fucking crying about something. So, like, it's important to be able to identify what you're going through and actually not just ignore it and try to shove it to the back of your mind. Of course, it's good to be able to address whatever issues you're having, but finding the right ways to deal with those is very important. And going to social media or even going to what you think may be a friend may not be the best way, especially for the young men that are out here in the dating scene. Going to the young lady that they might say the right things, but at the end of the day, they looking at you some type of way. I can promise you, they're looking at you some type of way because they are supposed to be coming to you for those problems. You're supposed to be the problem solver, and it shouldn't be the other way around. So now, of course, if you're in a situation where you're married and y'all have a family and y'all rock solid, and then you feel like you want to bring something to your wife, that's your
different.
decision.
Yeah, it's different.
But just coming out to just any random person that you feel like you might be dating at the time or you're interested in, it's not the move.
I mean, even your wife might call you a whore. You never know.
No, but I think that's what brought about this topic is the fact that I think a lot of people look at like vulnerability as or just sharing yourself emotionally and sharing your emotional state with a lot of people is a tribute to you being more emotionally aware or like being more like involved in your emotions. And I'm like you guys, I kind of don't agree with fully sharing everything, but it is stuff that you have to deal with as a man internally and then figure it out. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the expression part of it, like taking the step to having to express yourself, can sometimes take away from the progress that you make a putting towards you trying to figure out whatever those things is. And then also being able to just kind of like self-regulate yourself to be able to communicate if you do have any issues emotionally or have anything that's bothering you, being able to kind of self-regulate yourself to present it in a certain way that won't come off as like too crazy crying or too crazy. So, I mean, it's nothing wrong with being emotionally aware, but I feel as though as a black man, it is beneficial to kind of like trying to figure it out internally and then, handling, like, we logic we usually base ourselves off of logic. I know myself, I do. It's like I don't really go too much off emotion. I kind of go more so what logically makes sense in the situation or whatever it is.
Yeah, because you have to think like I think the mistake some people make, and this is what we experience when you see what they call crash outs, where you see people that's having these internal battles and all they do is just shove it to the back of their mind. They don't deal with it. And then eventually it's all going to come out, and it's going to be not a nice sight when it does. I think like there's a big difference between being emotionally aware versus being too tough and feeling like I can just shove it to the back of my mind and it's going to go away, because it's not going to go away. You have to figure out what the problem is, how you're going to deal with it, and deal with it. So I think that's the big difference versus like knowing you have a problem, knowing what the situation is, knowing how to deal with it, and then moving on from it.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta really be able to break your mindset down to just like basic things. Everything that we have in our life, everything that we use on a regular day basis is built in the functionalities of a human, right? Like it has the same functionalities, but it's just in different forms based off the technology it's built in, right? So like if you just think about your air conditioning system, right? And if it's not working, it's usually because the filter is dirty, right? So if you don't have an adequate way to filter everything that you go through, everything that comes through your eyesight, your mental every day, if you don't have a filtration system, it's going to get clogged up. It's going to look like a whole sheet that's blocking all the air that's supposed to come through it. And then usually it's going to get very hot in your house because your air conditioner's not working. And then when usually things overheat, that goes for your car, any technology you have, anything that overheats, it shuts down. And that's basically or blow up. So we're building, like humans are building things in the likeness of what a human is. So if you think about it in that aspect on your brain, if you don't have a good filtration system to fan off the bullshit and look past whatever somebody said and keep on walking, if you don't have those type of filtration systems, you will blow up. So I think it's just more so common sense things. If you know how your phone works, you should know how you work. You know, too much data stops you from uploading anything else. Too much things on your plate every day stops you from doing so many other things or thinking about so many other things. If you just think about yourself as the things that you use every day, what breaks it, and just don't do it to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So if you just think about advice. if you think about it in that aspect, being vulnerable is not very productive. But a phone will tell you when it has an error, and it's going to tell you what you should do to get rid of that error. You're not going to go around showing everybody like, look, my phone have an error. You know what I'm saying? If you call me, I get access to all your bank information. You're not going to do that. So you just got to understand how things that we have work, and then just kind of relate it to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Be like water. That's what I like to say.
So hold on, let me set it up. So this music was sent in from a friend, family, social nerd. He sent me earlier this week a package of beats that he wanted me to listen to. So he sent us a few from his upcoming project. I'm pretty sure that he'll be in the comments to let us know what he got going on and what's the name of his next project. So he just sent us a couple things. So we're just gonna give our honest reviews on these beats that he's working on. And I think that he has sent. We have loaded up right now. Back home. I don't know if that's supposed to be home, and he just spelled it wrong. Back home is what we're gonna listen to. Let's get into it. Hey.
I do got that WizKid DeVito vibe.
Yeah, I like this.
It's a vibe, though. I'm gonna see if we can use this shit on some background during the video. Hey, kick a freestyle for him, Phil.
You don't want me to freestyle on this? I don't know. It do sound like one of those beats that you would put with like some type of scenery, like if you giving a tour or something like that. It don't give me like it should have vocals on it for real, because I don't hear no beat drop or no bass. I don't hear no changes in the for the verses to the chorus type thing.
I hear vocals on this joint.
No, I definitely can hear something on this joint.
They go to break down right here.
Probably like more bass. Maybe I don't hear enough.
Nah, I bang with this joint.
Nah, this joint hard. I think it's smooth.
No, I bang with it.
I think it's smooth. I think it kind of it just pushes. It's a vibe, bro. This is a vibe. and they give you like an island feel, like you on vacation.
No, it does. That's why I said I could see this being like a Wizkid or a DeVito song.
No, this sounds like
If I had to
Drake
use
on.
it.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like some.
Oh
Drake
yeah,
shit.
Drake too. Yeah, Drake. But Drake got some features with it. Yeah.
I just wonder if he meant to spell back home or not back home.
Hey, you want to listen to another one? Or you want to listen to all three?
No, just listen to one more. We listen to one more. But that's a fire beat. I get it at 10.
I got to turn my heads first.
I give it a 9 just because it probably need like a stronger bass. But that's just me nitpicking. But I think that's a fire beat. Like I actually would,
No, it is.
I would kill that.
Well, I think he only sent us 2 because there's 2 of them. It's the same joint.
All right, we did gin. I wanted to see what the juice and gin was like. It's not gin and juice, it's juice and gin. Cha. This gotta drop hard though. That threw me off right there.
I can see it got I know the gin and juice. I don't know if it's, juice and gin. It sound kind of. I think it might supposed to have like a LA vibe to it. But yeah, that.
Unless you switched it up like that though. See now this sound hard.
I can see Kendrick on this.
I'm liking the switch ups though.
Hey.
This joint had the right rap on it to know how to do this joint. You know?
Yeah, it started throwing me off, but it got back on track though.
Catch a vibe. I'm in the vibe. No, it got to be an LA rapper on this song. Every time I hear claps like this, I think of like highlight tape.
Definitely a highlight tape.
Yeah.
Like you can see somebody just getting dropped, or somebody just getting mossed, or somebody just getting dunked on.
Somebody scoring on every play on this beat.
Right.
No, I bet with this joint.
Now you got something though.
I like the 3 switch ups that occurred during this beat. That's fire.
Yeah.
Man, shout out to social nerd, man. That's a fire.
Yeah, shout out to Social Nerd. Thanks for your submission.
Yeah, no, go follow my boy Social Nerd. I'll put the his Instagram in the link below. So yeah, man, follow my boy. That's hard. I fuck with that joint, and I like that you got a new tag now. So that's fire.
Yeah, definitely gotta have the right artist on that joint, though. We gotta have a seasoned artist on that joint to do it justice.
Yeah. Somebody could switch that flow mid-song.
No, real song, real shit.
All right, what we got next?
What we got next?
The music. We were gonna watch the videos.
All right, let's get to the videos. Which one you want to start with?
I thought we just doing homicide today.
That's a video I want you to see this video from Young Moose that he released.
Oh, okay.
That he released.
You do homicide first?
We can watch homicide, yeah. But we could commentate over top of that and just talk about the backstory on that joint. We made Towson, Maryland look like Minnesota. Lord, yo, this concept was so hard though. I ain't gonna lie.
And the cinematography on this is second to none.
Yeah. I always think of you. Oh Lord. Act the fool. Yo, I'm mad I put them contacts in my eyes. Yo, they didn't even show up on the film.
It did though.
It didn't.
I think so. It looked dead eye. It make you look more a little dead eye.
I don't know. I feel like
nigga, your eyes ain't that light.
I mean, not to the point where it looked like if it was in color. The fit was trash. I ain't gonna hold you. My fit was trash. A white tee, black tee. For niggas did.
Look at my man Charlie and Bird. Yo, I cast it for this.
I forgot Bird was in the shit. That's funny as shit. Fuck Bird doing, yeah.
I think he in LA right now.
See? Look at that headline, Phil. Look at that headline and look at your headline right now. I was in your headline stages right there. That's the headline you got right now, nigga. That's the Phil headline right there. Nigga, that's your whole get up right now. That's the Philly special right there, nigga.
Nah, but you don't got no temp on your haircut, bro. Your shit goes straight dark to the sideline. Fuck you was in the 80s.
Nah, that's the shit you got right there.
I don't got that. Yo, you don't got no temp on yours, bro.
Bro, you can redo this video right now, bro. It ain't gonna tell the difference.
Nah, you didn't put no temp on your haircut, bro. Man, we did that one, though. I ain't gonna stunt.
Yeah, that was a banger.
That was a dope ass.
That's probably one of my favorite videos, bro.
We never got balcony one off the ground.
Where your vision is clear.
That shit funny. That shit hard though. Like that was
a banger.
That video's still hard, bro. That shit still hit.
Oh, for sure.
Nice little storyline. Do a little recap at the end. I should have been shooting some Black Mirrors episodes back then.
You want to go?
Yeah, drop
Go
this.
to the next one.
Yo, watch this Moose shit and listen to this sample, bro, and how he flipped that shit. This shit, I know y'all don't usually listen to Baltimore rappers, but y'all know Young Moose, though. But the way he flipped this shit is hard, bro.
That's crazy. That's how.
That shit go hard, yo. That was hard that drop, bro. Yo, I fuck with this video, bro.
Yeah, that shit hard.
Yo, how you flip this song to like this? That's hard.
Yeah, he killed that track.
Bitch, I'm a shit.
Yo, that shit is crazy. The way he
Yo, that shit is hard though. I ain't gonna stunt.
The way he flipped that joint.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they ain't even need too much, bro. Because
Right.
the beat is hard. You know, I'm a fan of the samples, bro. You got a sample in the beat, bro. I bang with it heavy.
No, facts.
Yeah, that was hard.
And the fact that he didn't have one gun in his hand the whole time. You already know what's going on with him. He's like, nah, I ain't about to put no image of me with no guns in my
I
hand.
ain't gonna lie, yo, but the YNs, then man, they making these songs, these like R&B songs that's too hard though, about killing niggas.
Yeah.
But they hard.
Yeah, they hard. That joint is hard though. I got
Yeah, that
shout out to
shit
Young
was
Moose, yo. That shit fire.
Shout out Young Moose. Got one more for you.
Yo, I think it was funny how bro was hanging out the car in the front seat, but he ain't had nothing out there. He was just hanging his body out the front. I don't know if y'all peeped.
Thank you, family, for watching another episode of From the Crib podcast with me, Kay, and Philly. So if you want to join us next time, click that link below and subscribe right now. Peace.
Subscribe right now.